Todd with Digital Enamel. I have great honor. I have Dr. Joshua Austin from San Antonio, and you're big with dental economics. And I just got out of a class of his, and so tell us about yourself a little bit.
I don't know if I say I'm big with dental economics. I'm with dental economics. So Chris Salerno runs the ship. Chris, you're our Sherpa, our guiding light. All hail to Chris Salerno.
But what do you do in the magazine?
So I'm a editorial director and clinical columnist for, I do Pearls for Your Practice, so I have a review column. I get to review products, which I think is one of the best jobs in all of dentistry. Anytime a company comes out with a new cement, adhesive, composite, any product like that, they send it to me and I get to play with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
well,
great.
In your class, you were telling me how many composite brands do you have in all the different systems?
So I counted last week for another lecture I did, and I have 37 different composites.
Crazy.
28 different adhesives and 44 different cements. So props to my assistant Tiana for keeping track of all that. Like, I would be lost without her.
In the class I just took, one of the things I really enjoyed was how you keep everything so organized. And one of the things that was a big pearl for me was just making sure that your curing lights were being monitored over time. And I've got the little photometer or whatever, but you do something really neat. How do you monitor that?
So we have a photometer that we check our curing lights. Every single curing light in the office, we check it every week. Every Friday they get checked, and we log it, and so we know the number of output for each curing light at all times. So we start to see some variation, we know immediately and we can rectify it, whether that be sending it off for repair, replacing a battery, cleaning a light guide, whatever it may be.
Yeah, out of anybody that's testing all the different types of composites that you're doing, the last thing you want to have is the curing light not working.
And it happened. Like this, I didn't just come out of dental school like testing curing lights all the time. The reason I test curing lights is because I had a problem with the curing light and didn't know it until I'd been using it for a month, and just had a ton of post-op sensitivity, had a ton of restorations failing, and kind of traced back all the steps. And what it came out to be was that my assistant had dropped a curing light, the light guide broke off of it, she panicked thinking I was going to be very angry and that we just bought a new curing light and blah, blah, blah. She super glued the light guide back on, and there was no discernible difference with the naked eye in the amount of light or the quality of light that got put out.
The light that came out of the...
looked exactly the same. So until I tested with a photometer and found it was putting out 10% of the light that it should, and we had a ton of post-op issues, that's when I said, okay, our curing lights are the most vital piece of equipment I think we have in our office. Arguably more or less vital than the handpiece, but it's right up there. I mean, we live in a bonded world, and if our curing light isn't working, literally you'll have mass failure across.
Well, so you test a lot of products. Can you give us like maybe the 3 top lights you think, or is that too much to ask?
No, I can absolutely do that.
Like, give us 3.
Yeah,
give
I think there's 3 really great ones. The first one would be the Blue Face Style by Ivoclar Vivadent. Great light. We're just coming off of October, and you can get a special October breast cancer awareness Ivoclar Blue Face light. So thankfully, they're thinking of everything at Ivoclar. I can't wait for the Buffalo Bills version of the curing light.
Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, don't bring up the Cowboys when you go to visit Ivoclar. It doesn't work out well. I like the 3M Elipar Deep Cure. It's a great light, very, very powerful. And I like the Velo Grand by Ultradent. Those are the 3 top ones that I have.
3 top lights.
Yeah.
And so as far as direct restorative dentistry, you tend to... Well, maybe it's too much to ask you, like what you're like using on a daily basis, but people want to know because you have the opportunity to. A better question.
Yeah.
What are the properties you're looking for in a direct composite, like maybe even a bulk fill?
Right. So first off is where in the mouth are we using it, right? I have a completely different set of properties I want in an anterior composite versus a posterior composite. Okay. Anterior composite, I need a whole sort of fishing lure kit of different shades, opacities, clear ones, blue tints, all the stuff, right? All the accoutrements that come with that. For the posterior, I don't want to mess with all that. I want 1 or 2 shades. I want something that I can cure reliably in bigger increments and basically bulk fill, and know that I'm in the neighborhood shade-wise without having to worry about it. I'm just not one of those guys that's going to take a K-file and put stain in that. It's just... I'm on managed care like most people are, right? Like I take Delta, and so I can't charge $750 for a Class 2 composite. I'm getting $185, right? So I have to be really fast and efficient in order to make the same amount of money because As my expenses go up, my reimbursements do not go up, right? So those stay flat and everything else gets more expensive, and so we have to find different tricks. So for posteriors, I'm in a bulk fill world. I want something that's somewhat close shade-wise, that I can sculpt and mold pretty well. I really want something that has a flowable and a paste component to it, so that I can use those for different applications, and sometimes I use them on the same tooth at the same time. And so I like having that sort of flexibility. And so from a bulk fill perspective, there's a lot of great bulk fills on the market. Filtech 1, Tetric EvoCeram bulk fill by Ivoclar work great. Tokayama Estelite Sigma, or Estelite bulk fill flowable is great. So there's a lot of great options. When it comes down to bonding, I think pick a composite system that you know well, that has the type of viscosity that you like. We may like completely different viscosities.
Right.
It's very, very different taste. Find the viscosity that you like that has a couple shades, and kind of stick with it. Right, master it and learn that one. Like, to do what I do and move around all the time and whatnot, I only do that because I need to for content for the magazine to review products. But I think a good dentist finds a system, learns that system really well, and sticks with it.
Yeah.
That's how you get good and fast.
Well, part of being a guru in materials, you've got to know the history of materials, and the different generations of bonding, and how we came up through the grassroots of resin and ceramic being built into it. So at the end of this decade that we're in right now, how do you think things are changing compared to like maybe how we were trained, say 15, 20 years ago when it comes to composites?
It's interesting. I think you're going to start to see more incorporated materials, right? What I mean by that is, I think we're going to see relatively soon our first iteration of composites that have adhesives built into them.
Oh, so no bonding agent?
Yeah, we won't have to put a bonding agent. It'll be all incorporated.
You just jam it in there.
Jam it in there and done. Sort of like an amalgam, right? Okay. Except you have to cure it. Probably the first generations of those aren't going to be great, and we're going to see incremental improvement on that. But that's really where we're going, is a direct restorative that doesn't need any steps ahead of time. If we can get to that point, we're going to, the more steps we can eliminate, the better. The simpler we can make it, the less chance for error, the faster we are, and I think the better. So I think we're heading that way. We've had a lot of talk about how composite needs to get better, and composite needs to become more forgiving like amalgam. And we've really skipped over glass ionomers. And glass ionomers actually have a lot of great benefits that we really like. They're just not quite strong enough, right? And that's kind of what we learned in dental schools. Don't put glass ionomers on occlusal surfaces. You don't put them in class 2s. And so for a long time, we didn't see any development in glass ionomers other than some minor things. But over the last couple of years, we've seen some big steps in glass ionomers. And I think there could be a possibility that we're moving towards a scenario where a good number of posterior restorations you're going to put in are going to be some sort of new hybridized, strong version of a glass ionomer that you can put on a chewing surface and be fine.
So maybe we've kind of maxed out composite resins?
Potentially. I mean, I think there's some incremental ways that we could get better. But at the end of the day, with bonding, no matter what, whether you're talking about bonding in a CAD-CAM restoration or bonding a direct composite, at the end of the day, technique trumps all, right? So technique is so much more important than what material you use. There's no material that has magic pixie dust in it that will, combat against isolation problems and moisture problems and all that stuff, or over drying. So if we can get to a place where our composites are at least a little bit more forgiving, I think that'll be great. And if we could also get these glass ionomer materials or some sort of hybrid material that has the strength to be able to use it in more applications and give us the benefits that we get from glass ionomer, like fluoride release, not having bacteria stick to it as much.
Now, you mentioned a glass ionomer, a resin-modified glass ionomer in the class. So that there is some things that you are using in that regard, restoratively and for luting cements, right?
Absolutely. So I use a fair amount of a restorative material called Equia Forte. It's made by GC America, who I kind of think of as the glass ionomer company, right? Fujitsu, they're a glass ionomer place. Equia Forte is a hybrid glass ionomer. It's got some glass filler in it, some ceramic filler in it. And so it's much stronger than traditional glass ionomer, but it still has really good fluoride uptake and release, and has some of those great glass ionomer properties that we're used to. So I think if we can continue to see some improvement there, I think that's a great thing. Glass ionomer is really sort of one of the forgotten materials.
I agree.
Porcelain and composite, and we think of that's it, and we move on. But there's a patient, in your practice that would benefit greatly from glass ionomer. So.
Yeah. Now, how do you think the world is today when it comes to ceramics in general and zirconias? Because zirconia is just like, you can't go to a dental meeting and
Right.
not talk about zirconia somehow.
right.
Where do you think we are
And
now?
it's, we're about 60, most labs will say about 65% of the restorations they make are full contour zirconia, right? And that's gonna be your traditional, full strength, like a Bruxier type of zirconia. I'm curious,
Monolithic.
full contour zirconia. I'm curious, in your practice, what percentage crowns of zirconia are you making?
Well, so that's kind of an unfair. I didn't expect to get put on the spot
Yeah.
like that, but I've been big with lithium disilicate
Right.
Emax, of course, and so zirconia to me, doing one visit dentistry, is a little bit on the fringe. So I
Right.
look at it as on the fringe because Emax I think is the sweet spot of dental
Sure.
materials, and so it's in long-term CAD/CAM users' offices. Zirconia is probably maybe one of the outliers.
Sure.
But-
It's the new kid on the block, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was, maybe 18 months ago or so that
Yeah.
Speedfire came along and gave
Right.
you the ability.
But what I will say about it, though, is it's a great avenue for non-CAD/CAM users
Right.
to get into CAD/CAM.
Because they don't want to give up their zirconia.
Right, and so they look at that and go, okay, that'll be good.
Right.
The only thing they're giving up really is the aesthetics. Because,
Right.
our fast zirconias just aren't.
Right,
as-
they're not there yet,
Yeah,
and
no.
it's getting better. Every year the zirconias get better, and so,
Right.
hopefully we're moving into a way, but really, how strong is strong enough, right? When you
Right.
look at a full contour zirconia at 1,000 plus megapascals of flexural strength versus, if you have Emax done at 1 millimeter or more and you bond it in, you're at 500. Like, for most patients, you're
They're-
not having Emax breaking left
No,
and right, so
right.
it's totally great. Now, you have mastered how to prep in these situations. You're doing a lot of, you're leaving enamel and maximizing that enamel bond, inlay, onlay kind of stuff that my dental school, and I think most dental schools now, don't teach as much.
Right.
So you have to adapt your prep style to be able to do that. I think if the average dentist that was doing laboratory fabricated crowns and luting on Emax on second molars is probably not going to have a lot of great luck there, right?
Right.
So we have to find kind of the place. I think you're exactly right. Is you could totally live in a world without zirconia if you treat things the right way. But I think the average dentist who works in an office and is having a laboratory, big laboratory, small laboratory, doesn't matter, make their restorations. They're doing more than half the restorations they're doing
Yeah.
is zirconia.
No, the advancements in zirconia have been great. Even our
Yeah.
chair side, like
Yeah.
Katana from Carrara, is really
looks
good.
really good.
Looks
Yeah,
good.
looks
It's
really
on,
good.
It's on its way, and they're really mastering that for YZ zirconia up to the 5. To
Right.
at least get some translucency, losing some strength. But in reality, when you hold one of those up, it's starting to get
It's a
hard
little
to
heavy,
see.
yeah.
Don't you think?
And when you bond one of those in, those 4, whatever, euteria, I forget all those abbreviations, but those are around 600 to 750. You're not all that much more than a bonded Emax. So if you know Emax and you know how to treat it, you know how to stain and glaze it,
Yeah.
is it worth it to buy this new oven and start using this new material that you have to treat a little differently?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm a big fan of, and my dad taught dentistry and always sort of said, stick with what works. And not everything works for everybody. And if you're having great success with CAD/CAM in your practice with lithium disilicate, it's hard for me to tell you to switch to zirconia just because everybody else is.
Yeah, well, another key feature that's going to be great just for CAD/CAM stuff is like zirconia abutments.
Right.
That's a big
Sure.
one. So
yeah, for your
although
interiors and all that.
other
Yeah.
materials do work,
Right.
it's good to have
Right.
that option.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, Josh, Austin,
Hey,
thanks,
Thank
man.
you so
I
much.
appreciate you so
I
much
feel-
for coming.
I'm honored to be in Cindy's chair. Is
Yeah, well-
Cindy normally there? I can't write.
Cindy is normally here.
I
yeah.
feel honored.
I figured
Cindy,
that-
I was hoping you'd be here today when I came. And
Well, you're such a good-looking guy. I figured you were Cindy with the beard.
I'm no August. I'm no August. That's another thing. Like sitting next to you, I'm a poor replacement for August. So
Check out Josh on Dental Economics. Thanks, bro.
thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.